Good morning, banana mators. This morning I was just doing some warm-up gestures and I thought I should just record this. I'm going back to Newfoundland this year. They've opened up Canada a little bit where I am, so I'm able to go visit my family, so I don't think I'm going to get many videos recorded. So I'm going to try and just record my daily practices and then I'll have content. It'll be great. So I chose Keira Knightley as my subject this morning because I'm working on a side project. I'm kind of entertaining the idea of doing a graphic novel. And one of the main characters is a mage. She's very highly educated, very uptight. She never really learned to have fun. She was drilled from a young age to become the absolute best at what she does. So she doesn't know how to relax. And when I see Keira Knightley, her physicality really feels uptight to me. She has this really strict posture, very long neck. She almost has like a ballerina figure. She did a ballerina movie, right? She's a ballerina. And that felt right for this character. Someone who's just always very rigidly stock still, as opposed to me, who's like a slouchy shrimp when I sit in a chair. She always sits very upright. So when I started out, I don't really police myself anymore on gesture. It's nice to play around with different styles and see what works for you. Starting very contoury like I do now will be very frustrating for somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience doing this. So go and explore the different methods of gesture and never let anybody tell you what the right way is. Some people are very strict on, oh, this is the right way to do gesture. Every line must count, blah, 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 blah. Or the Nicolaides crowd, the kind that I learned, it's more about you just kind of wander around until you find the right thing. So they can be very messy. There's a lot of superfluous lines. And over time, my stuff has cleaned up as I combine different contour exercises and gesture exercises into this sort of quick drawing method. But don't look at the way I draw and think that's the right way to draw, or anybody else. And don't let anybody tell you that they're right, because that's just not reasonable. Just draw the way you love to draw and try different methods if you haven't established something that works for you already. The more different things you try, the more you're going to find the right things that help you to describe things in a quick and gestural way. So I went through Pinterest and just found things. I typed in Keira Knightley period for period pieces, historical things, because when she's wearing those ball gowns, she looks even more rigid, I find. And I mean, often she's wearing a corset, so that's going to keep you very forced into that regal position. But I like this one because she still has that very long and lean physicality, but she's kind of slouched. Like, so she still feels rigid, even though she's kind of relaxed in this pose, but it shows a lot of character. So I wanted to steal some of that. And when I start, I don't have a good sense initially for proportions. The parts might be too long, or sometimes they're just not quite in the right angle, the right place. And I usually find my way as I go. I like to do these fairly fast. The total time was 33 minutes, and I did 5 different drawings that got progressively longer. So I wanted to work with some tones and just lay those in, get some of those cinematic highlights around the outside to help describe. So I'll add darks and lights and darks and lights. I'll erase, I'll jam new things in. And this, of course, is something that only the digital workflow really allows for. If I'm working in a sketchbook, I will be a little bit more careful and I will kind of plan things out a little bit more as I go. But I love the freedom in digital to push and pull until you find the right thing. And here you can see the head angle is not quite working. Her left shoulder is pushed in, like the left arm is pushed a lot farther back. And as I go, I'll start pulling those things around a little bit and kind of guiding it towards a better place. I'll start looking for the landmarks, the collarbones, the elbow here. I'll go over to the thing and I'll kind of figure out, okay, where does this elbow line up with her torso? I'll draw plumb lines. So like if you drop a line from her eye down, is the collar of her shirt directly below her eye? It's a little bit to the right. So that'll help me line that up. I think I put it a little bit too far to the left. But when you're working quickly, I mean, you're never going to get things perfect. At the end of the day, you just want it to have the right feeling. I want her to feel very stiff, very vertical in her positioning, in her torso. She has very square shoulders, which I think work really well for this type of character. And so I figured I'd just do a few little drawings. And this can work with any type of character. You can look for actors that kind of have the right personality and the physicality that you want. Even if they don't quite have the body type that you want, you can still take the essence of how they move their body, how they slouch, how they sit up. Whatever little pieces you can steal to bring your character to life. And just doing this regularly with no purpose in mind. Like, I'm not going to put these anywhere. Maybe I'll put them on Tumblr or something. I kind of dump more of my sketchbook stuff on Tumblr. But there's no goal in mind. It's just about exploring how the body works, how this character stands, and trying to get the feeling right. So here, this one I had a little bit of trouble with because of the neck twist. And in this early part, my left arm is way, way too far out to the left. If you look at the image, her shoulder is in line with her face. Her forehead is actually farther out than her shoulder. I do move it over eventually, but when I'm starting out, it's not correct, and that's okay. As I'm going, I'm looking for those structural pieces. See here, I start to realize that I've just made it way too far to the left, and I actually narrowed it too much. So now I've moved the left arm in, but the angle of the left arm is too vertical. It needs to be more horizontal, and I see that a little bit later. And the right side I've made too narrow. Her shoulders are quite wide, and I've kind of underestimated the width of it. But as I go in, I start looking for those negative shapes around the shoulder, around the neck, and I start getting a little bit closer to where the actual drawing is. And these lines, you can see I was playing with the vertical of the strap. That's giving me a lot of information. And by comparing the strap to the arm, that's when I saw that the angle was wrong. So it's a progress piece. If I was doing this in a sketchbook, I would start with very, very light ghost lines to get the initial blocking in, and then start looking for those negative shapes, the different angles of the strap to the shoulder. And that's going to inform me as I build this up. With digital, I just love to have a little paint. I will just start blocking things in. I'll start comparing these shapes and adding darks and lights. And over time, it'll start getting more and more like what the image is. But if something in the image isn't giving me the right feeling that I want, I'm not afraid to change things up and add things in my own drawing that I think would work better for what I'm doing. Like my character's hair is different than Keira Knightley. Her nose is a little bit more prominent because I love characters with noses. Please bring noses back to cartoons. And so I'm adding those things in. I haven't quite worked out the costume of my character, but if I already had that sorted, then I could add my costume to this drawing. And then I'd have better reference for my own work. I could even take this gesture that I've done. This one took me the longest because it was a tricky pose for me. But I could now add my character's clothes on top of this and have a good reference for when I'm drawing her in other things. Yeah, I got that neck super long. That's really, I think, what I like about Keira Knightley's posture is that super long neck. It makes her feel like she's never relaxed. Right, so that's it. Let me know if you like seeing this kind of stuff, and I will make more. Like, share, subscribe, and all those things internet people ask you to do, and I will see you in the next video.